start, but they are through to the last 16 of the Champions League. They are fourth in the Premier League. Should we be expecting any more from Spurs right now?
No, not really. I think what's happening at Spurs is what you would expect under Conte. I think results, as in getting to where they need to be in the top four, getting to the latter stage of the Champions League, but then the undercurrent from the fans that they want a little bit more stylish football, that they look a little bit rigid. I mean, the first half of games, they look like the glass is half empty. And then they have to wait then. And I said at the end, I felt it was probably the right analogy, that at the end of games or in the second half of games, he's like a jockey on this, whipping his horse that hard to try and get them back in the game. But today they weren't against Bournemouth, they weren't against Marseille, they were against Liverpool, and they were 2-0 down before they knew it. And you can't get back into the top games against the top teams if you start like that. So they've got to get the mentality right from the start of the game. Eric Dyer never moved in the first half forward. Second half, he's flying forward. If that had happened in the first half, maybe it'd been different. But the balance of the players on the pitch weren't right today, and that's injuries as well. What
do you think? Should we expect more?
The guy's been there a year. So 2 transfer windows. He's not spent, OK, it's a lot of money by anyone's standards, but I think Spurs supporters should be happy. I think what compounds their problem is the fact that the team just up the road's doing well and they're being perceived to be playing a brand of football which is deemed attractive. But I think the fact that Arsenal are top of the league and Spurs are fourth, I would just slowly, I think they've got the right manager, and with the right support, he'll do well at this football club. And I think they've got some really good players. I think what you saw in the first half was a very poor performance by Spurs. In the second half, the thing they introduced from the first kick of the second half was aggression. You can't play professional football at this level unless you're really aggressive. They weren't. They were passive in the first half, aggressive in the second half. You combine that with really good players, and they have some really good players, they'll do well. And I just think it's slowly, don't be critical. Let the team evolve. Let him get on with his job. Support them. And I just, I think he alluded to it. I think Harry alluded to it, that the support could be better. They're a demanding crowd. They're a big football club. They're sitting in the best football stadium in the world. They feel they should have more. I think if Arsenal were sitting below them right now, they wouldn't be making the same noises.
But with the depth that they have in this squad, was there always going to be a drop-off in the intensity of their performances as soon as they had to battle with the Champions League midweek and big games at the weekend?
They've been unfortunate with injuries. If you're taking the key players, obviously Harry Kane's the best player they've got, but it's hard when you've not got some of the players that you'd like at your disposal. Son is an important player. Richarlison, an important player. Romero, really important player.
Kulusevski's been missing for a long time.
Kulusevski today comes on and you can just see that there was a spark when he came onto the pitch. It is a major problem. To Graham's point, Arsenal have... When Spurs finished above Arsenal, I think Spurs fans are thinking, OK, now we're going to get to the next level. Can we challenge? Can we compete? And what they've done is they've seen the nearest rivals go to another level very, very quickly, and they've bought some good players, but it's going to be a long season. A lot can change. Who knows what's going to happen once? This is unprecedented what we're going to face in the next few weeks with the World Cup coming. Who's going to come back fit? Who's going to come back ready? Who can then push on? This is still, even from Liverpool's point of view, I felt a couple of weeks ago that how can they finish in top four? But all of a sudden, it looks like if results go their way, anything is still possible.
Do you have Spurs in your top four?
I did. I still do, just because of the manager. Yeah. The manager, he does get results. He does get results. I do have him in there still, because I think you're right. Richarlison coming back. Kulusevski obviously has been out a long time, as you mentioned. They have got some of the best players missing, but there'll always be that undercurrent. I know Graham says about the fans. They will always be that undercurrent with Conte, I think, at clubs, that the football isn't quite what you want to see, because the expectation levels have risen so high. What Klopp's done, what Pep's done, some of the brands of football we see are outstanding, and it's more rigid. It's less flexible, and we see what Arteta's now doing at Arsenal. All the interlink, the play is fantastic. You won't get that here, and that won't be here for the next 2 or 3 years. Even though he will get results.
That narrative is being peddled, that they're not good to watch. If you're a Spurs supporter watching the second half, if you had that for 75 minutes, 80 minutes, and you lost 2-1, you'd accept that. That narrative is sort of being promoted by whoever. And the Spurs supporters are buying it. I think...
Well, who's the narrative being proposed?
Well, I think certain press. I think you'll get... If you've got 50,000, 60,000 people come into a stadium, not everyone's going to be happy. But I just think, starting slowly, does not help you win football matches. I think especially against the better teams, if you're giving them a start, it's hard to claw your way back into it. They nearly did that today. Last week they did it twice in 4 days, 5 days. I think the performance they put in the second half shows you they're capable of playing a brand of football that would be acceptable here. They were on the front foot, they were aggressive, they were creating chances, but they were against the, one of the best teams out there.
I think style's a problem.
It will be a problem. I think it's harsh to say the media have created this perception that the fans are following. I think football fans are quite intelligent. They know what they're watching. Tottenham fans have seen good football there for a number of years.
When?
Well, under Harry, it was really good. And under Pochettino, it was really good.
You go up
the
here,
football's fantastic under those two managers.
Ask the supporters. The older ones remember 61, 62 doing the double.
No, they've seen good football since then.
They've had one League Cup in 21 years here. The football cannot have been that good.
No, what I mean is the style of the football under Harry Redknapp.
This guy will win things for you.
No, I'm not saying he won't, but I'm saying the style of football under Pochettino and under Harry's been pretty good. I think that when they do value style here at Tottenham. I do think they value style.
I know a bit about this club. Yeah. I understand how they see football.
So they value style
and how they want their team to play. I would be patient with this guy. He's been here a year. He's had 2 transfer windows. They got into the Champions League, did really well last year. How they got in, going right down to the wire. I'll repeat it again. I think the problem's compounded by Arsenal being top of the league right now, and the rivalry between the two clubs is enormous. But I think they're on the right road with this guy, and I think they've got a good group of players here.
If they win a trophy this year, they won't care what the style's like, because they've had it for so long. The major thing that they have to do, this team, is start winning games against their nearest rivals, top teams. And they've come up short in those games for whatever reason, be it quality, being moments bad. What Eric Dyer does today, you can't. What can you do about that as a manager? If he doesn't make that mistake, it's totally different. You go into half-time at 1-0, you bring on Kulusevski. But they've got to start winning games with teams in and around them. Otherwise, they won't make the top 4.
I take Graham's point about Arsenal. I think also you're approaching big games. It is getting punished a lot more now. That more sort of what would be defensive style doesn't seem to be winning as much as it used to. You could easily sort of in the day sit back, counter-attack, and you see Jose do it, you see other managers doing it. Rafa Benitez did it for a long time. The top teams now that are less proactive are getting punished.